The story opens with Yuuya painfully recalling the harsh insults he endured as a child, from being called useless and ugly to fat. Immediately after, his name is revealed, accompanied by a resilient declaration that he will never give up. A kind old man kneels, comforting a young boy, advising his grandson to take his time, not to rush, and that as long as he can smile, he will always be happy. He also instructs the boy to be kind to those in need and to cherish those who treat him well. The narrator introduces Yuuya Tenjo, a young man who always bows his head in his school uniform, wearing a sad and lost expression, as if he has no place in this world. At school, Araki demonstrates his strength by shoving a large male student, while also uttering insults. As the victim lies in pain on the ground, other students cheer for Araki and mock the heavier student. A male student bitterly thinks that the only reason he is bullied by the school's tormentors is because of his unattractive appearance, then forces a bitter, self-deprecating smile. Brutally attacked by a group of thugs, the victim desperately resists when ordered to kneel and apologize while humiliatingly exposed, and threatened with being used as a punching bag instead of paying. While a group of male students laughed and cheered at the act of humiliatingly exposing another classmate, a girl shouted, asking what they were doing, showing concern and indignation at the bullying scene. Even his family didn't stand by Yuuya when his younger siblings, Sara and Yuta, appeared where he was being bullied. Sara reluctantly acknowledged Yuuya as her brother with a look of disdain, while the bullies mocked that he looked nothing like his siblings. A thug savagely kicked the victim repeatedly, spewing vicious insults, saying that being related to someone like the victim was a disgrace. He then furiously screamed that the victim should have just disappeared along with that eccentric old man. As the old man comforted Yuuya, who was in pain on the ground, a young man resolutely stepped forward to protect him, declaring that they could speak ill of him, but not insult his grandfather. An aggressive student roared in anger, shouting at another student who was cowering in fear, and asked who had given him permission to speak. A man explained his father's will, stating that he had completed the inheritance procedures before passing away. The woman sitting opposite was utterly astonished and shocked to learn that Yuuya would inherit his father's house. In a hazy scene, a woman expressed annoyance, wondering if that unstable old man held a grudge against them, always mentioning only Yuuya. Meanwhile, another young man worried about how this matter would affect their public image. Two men discussed, believing that Yuuya leaving home was a good opportunity for things to turn in favor of his younger brother and sister. As the protagonist quietly walked down the hallway, two adults conversed, saying that giving him shelter until high school was more than enough, and they couldn't keep indulging him like that. The manager scolded Yuuya for being late for work and covered in bruises, then bluntly announced his termination. The young man was completely shocked and bewildered, not understanding why he was being treated this way. Cornered in an alley by a group of thugs, the protagonist was extremely frightened, while another man was on the phone, asserting that they didn't want to cause any trouble either. Yuuya felt desperate as difficulties continuously befell him. Although his grandfather had left him a house, he still couldn't survive without a part-time job. Walking down the street at night, Yuuya suddenly stopped and exclaimed in surprise upon seeing a group of people gathered near a building in the distance. A young girl desperately pleaded with two men to let her go home, but they only mocked her and said they just wanted to have some fun. Notably, many passers-by witnessed the scene, but no one intervened to help her. Facing Araki's friends, also known as the Red Devils gang, the male student was anxious and confused, unsure what to do in this situation. Amidst the chaotic scene as everyone panicked and fled, Yuuya shouted an expletive, while another person also hastily urged everyone to leave quickly and save themselves. While a girl was being forcibly dragged away by two captors, the protagonist could only kneel in despair and plead for help. At the same time, the teachings of a mysterious man about kindness and appreciation echoed in his mind, creating a painful contrast. Witnessing a female student being bullied by classmates, the protagonist gritted his teeth in agony, his inner self torn as he recalled his brother's teaching that he would never abandon someone in trouble. In a tense atmosphere, a white-haired man was grabbing and threatening a smaller man, while another bald man loudly demanded to know from Yuuya what was happening. An attacker delivered a powerful kick to the victim, simultaneously shouting for him to shut up. Amidst a group assault, Yuuya cowered on the ground in pain and fear, wondering what would happen to him while the assailants continuously hurled insults and struck him. When the police suddenly arrived, a young man frantically shouted that they had been betrayed and urged his accomplices to flee, leaving the protagonist dirty and dazed amidst the scene. A young girl anxiously inquired about the condition of an injured boy and comforted him, saying the ambulance would arrive soon. Despite his face being full of injuries, the male student still refused the ambulance's help, while a girl standing nearby looked at him with a worried expression. The girl tried to help the boy in pain by offering her shoulder for him to lean on, but he insisted he was fine, making her even more worried. When the police arrived at the scene, the male student tried to reassure everyone that he was truly fine. At the same time, an adult witnessing the event noticed another female student trembling violently from psychological trauma and quickly warned her to be careful. The male student sank into negative thoughts, believing he was too unattractive and didn't want a girl to have to talk to someone like him. The girl emotionally clasped her hands in gratitude to her rescuer and promised to repay him, while a friend accompanying her looked on with a look of confusion and surprise. The protagonist was bandaging a wound on his neck himself, indicating he had just been through a dangerous situation, while the scene outside the house at night created a quiet, tranquil feeling. Looking at his injured reflection in the mirror, the protagonist had an internal monologue, reflecting on the kindness of someone who had cared for him, even though he felt completely undeserving. Determined to change himself, the protagonist initially put in his utmost effort, from exercising and adhering to a strict diet to immersing himself in his studies. Sad memories of a lonely childhood and a longing for a warm family flooded back, contrasting with the harsh reality, making the adult protagonist desperately wonder what all his efforts ultimately meant. Seeing his grandson looking sad, the grandfather gently comforted him, saying to take his time, no need to rush, and that as long as he could smile, he would always be happy. Standing by the hospital bed, Yuuya was comforting his grandfather, assuring him that everything would be all right and that he trusted him. The protagonist's face was contorted in extreme anguish and terror, as internal thoughts and harsh words surrounded him, from humiliation and despair to the threat of being used as a punching bag. In utter despair, the protagonist screamed and collapsed, his inner self torn by thoughts of a bleak future, present misery, and a feeling of not belonging anywhere. Yuuya was holding up a metal bucket, surrounded by shattered glass fragments, along with an inner declaration that he had no dreams for the future. In a fit of rage, the protagonist destroyed many items in the room, including the mirror and trash can. But immediately after, he was horrified to realize he was destroying his own home, showing shock and regret. A boy accidentally discovered a secret room filled with old items in the house. He was greatly surprised and speculated that his grandfather had created this place. In a dusty storage room, a large wooden double door, intricately decorated with a carved owl emblem in the center, appeared mysteriously and majestically. A boy suddenly discovered a mysterious door appearing in the dark space. He wondered in surprise where it came from and focused on the majestic owl carving on the door. The boy felt anxious and uneasy as a mysterious door seemed to be calling him, stirring curiosity and an indescribable urge. Standing amidst a ruined landscape, the protagonist was utterly shocked to continuously receive 3 system notifications, confirming he had acquired new titles: Master of Doors, Master of Houses, and Otherworlder. Within a space enveloped by a powerful energy flow, a series of system notifications appeared, confirming that the protagonist had received the title First One Summoned to Another World and new skills, Endurance, and Appraisal. Suddenly transported to an unfamiliar place, Yuuya Tenjo was extremely panicked and confused by concepts like skills and doors to another world, displayed on a mysterious system interface, revealing that he was the user of this door. After realizing he was in an otherworld, the protagonist was amazed to discover his new abilities, including currency conversion, teleportation, and entrance control. Transported to another world, Tenjo Yuuya was bewildered by game-like system notifications and the unfamiliar forest landscape outside. He realized he was alone and tried to find an explanation for this perplexing situation, assuming he might have arrived in another world. The boy suddenly realized he could read and understand the content on a strange piece of paper. Immediately after, a system notification appeared confirming he had learned the skill, Translation, leading him to ponder that skills could be acquired through certain actions. Thanks to a special skill allowing him to understand all languages, the protagonist read an old document, revealing that the owner of this house had passed away and ownership would belong to the first person to find it, protected by magic to prevent strangers from entering. After learning he had become the new owner of the house that once belonged to a sage, the protagonist was extremely surprised and excited to discover high-grade weapons and clothes stored inside. Yuuya showed great excitement and determination as he tried to lift a large spear, pouring all his strength and focus into wielding it, because any boy would want to try it once. The protagonist unexpectedly learned the skill, Spearmanship. Simultaneously, information about the legendary spear, Absolute Spear, with superior power also appeared before him. After commenting on the grandeur yet also terrifying nature of the other weapons, the young boy looked out at a vast natural landscape, unaware that a mysterious creature with clawed feet was approaching. While the boy was exploring the house and curious about the identity of the sage who once lived there, a chained demon seemed to sense his presence and displayed intense fury. The scene opens with the terrifying roar of a mysterious creature amidst a heavy rain, leaving Yuuya panicked and confused, wondering about the loud sound he had just heard while inside a dilapidated old house. His appraisal skill revealed an extremely powerful monster named Bloody Ogre with a level of 300, terrifying Yuuya as he realized its formidable strength. After a powerful strike, the protagonist's opponent was sent flying and lay sprawled on the ground in pain, while the protagonist could only stare in utter astonishment at the horrifying destructive power the monster had just unleashed. While one boy was in utter panic, fearing that an attack would surely lead to his demise, Yuuya remained calmer, thinking that as the master of the house, he could prevent anything from entering without his permission. Faced with a difficult decision, the protagonist considered fleeing back to his own world, but worried that if he did, the master of the house would no longer be there, and something dreadful might intrude. The protagonist stepped into a blindingly bright area and told himself that perhaps his sense of fear had become dulled. He believed his actions were merely curiosity, something he would normally never do. Confronting a massive demon, Yuuya mused over its name, Bloody Demon, thinking it sounded like a gang of thugs, and that perhaps prompted him to want to fight back against it. Trusting that nothing could intrude upon the house, Yuuya prepared to unleash his absolute spear technique, confident it would hit its mark, but also with a fleeting worry that his opponent might evade the attack. An extremely powerful surge of energy suddenly erupted, sweeping the protagonist into the epicenter of the impact, leaving him dazed and recoiling from the intensity of the moment. A powerful surge of energy suddenly appeared, leaving Yuuya above utterly panicked and astonished, while another character below was completely enveloped by this energy, suggesting a transformation or a direct assault. After creating a powerful explosion, the protagonist exhaustedly sat on the ground, gasping for breath, and remarked that the absolute spear was truly too dangerous. After vanquishing the monster, the protagonist received a level up notification. He was initially surprised but quickly deduced that in this situation, leveling up after defeating a monster was entirely foreseeable. Tenjo Yuuya was utterly shocked and stunned as he looked at his status screen, seeing his stats had skyrocketed to level 100 and receiving a total of 10,000 bonus points, an enormous amount of rewards he couldn't believe. After consideration, the young man decided to allocate his bonus points, upgrading his attack, defense, and agility stats to 3,000, while his special skills and titles were also displayed on the status board. After imagining himself becoming as muscular as a level 100 ogre, the protagonist suddenly discovered something lying in the exact spot where the giant ogre had vanished. Detailed information about two rare items was displayed, a B-rank magic stone and a pair of giant tusks of the Blood Warrior Demon, highlighting their use in crafting powerful weapons. A complete armor set named Blood Fighter Demon Set was detailed, describing it as being made from the hide of a bloodthirsty ogre, possessing superior defensive capabilities and enhancing the wearer's attack power and dexterity. The protagonist mused that items like tusks and armor were completely useless for normal life, then he burst into loud, mocking laughter and exclaimed, "Delusion," expressing his skepticism toward supernatural elements. Thanks to his item box skill, which allowed unlimited storage, the protagonist collected the dropped items. He then discovered the ability to exchange them for cash and decided to exchange everything, keeping only the armor set. A successful transaction was displayed, in which the B-rank magic stone and Blood Warrior Demon tusks were successfully exchanged for values of 1 million yen and 500,000 yen respectively. After observing a mysterious glowing object, the scene shifts to Alceria Castle, where Knight Owen is sternly calling out the name of a woman named Lexia. In a luxurious setting, Princess Lexia von Alceria, the first princess of the Kingdom of Alceria, is introduced with an elegant and noble appearance. Knight Owen sternly reminded Lady Olivia to always stay close to the escort team during the inspection, citing recent ill omens in town and emphasizing that the king would not forgive if anything were to befall her. After being reminded by an angry man, the princess stands on the balcony in contemplation, her inner thoughts revealing she was aware of the unfavorable rumors circulating about her among the populace and nobility. A young girl with wavy blonde hair smiles and ponders, wondering why today she no longer cares about troubling matters as she usually does. Under the starry night sky, beside an ancient tower, the narrator shares a sense of foreboding that something significant is about to happen, creating an atmosphere of mystery. Returning home after an eventful day, from being attacked by a Rocky's gang to rescuing a girl, the protagonist lies on his bed, confusedly reflecting on the surreal experience of having traveled to another world, defeating monsters, and leveling up. A character sleeps, wishing it was all just a dream, while the scene outside the house and the clock in the room evoke the stillness of the night and the passage of time. Yuuya lies collapsed on the floor, groaning in pain, while an abstract image suggests a catastrophic event, possibly the cause of his condition. Waking from a terrifying experience, the protagonist struggles with pain and fear. After screaming, he gradually regains composure and blankly realizes it's morning. After a sleepless night due to pain, the young man is surprised to find the pain gone, then utterly stunned and amazed to feel the changes in his body. While one boy appears shocked and amazed, another young man takes off his shirt, revealing a toned physique, and asks if his body looks strange. After a sharp pang of pain, the protagonist reflects on his body's transformation, realizing he no longer feels heavy and seems to have grown taller. A close-up of the protagonist's sharp gaze shows he has just realized something significant, but quickly dismisses it to consider another aspect. The protagonist sighs in relief, feeling saved, upon finding a small wooden house amidst his struggles. While changing clothes, Yuuya notices his physical transformation and reflects on why his body used to ache, regretting not being able to see his current appearance due to a broken mirror. The protagonist is extremely pleased with the comfort of his new outfit made of royal silk. He uses the appraisal function to view detailed information, highlighting premium features like temperature control and automatic repair. Tenjo Yuuya is amazed and admiring of the leather shoes named Divine Dragon Leather Shoes, as detailed information appears, describing its superior properties such as impact resistance and fatigue prevention. While exploring the house, the protagonist unexpectedly finds a powerful sword named Absolute Sword, and is utterly astonished by its power and extraordinary characteristics. After the system announces he has learned swordsmanship LV1, Tenjo Yuuya appears surprised and wonders what he has truly gained. The male lead is introduced to a series of powerful equipment, including the Infinity Gauntlet that can serve as armor, the Invisible Bow that has no form, and the Scythe of Demise, which death itself uses to claim lives. After achieving True Martial Arts Skill Level 1, the male lead unexpectedly discovers a garden in the backyard and is filled with surprise. A rare medicinal plant called the Panacea plant with extraordinary healing abilities is introduced, while the male lead discovers never-before-seen vegetables and wonders if they belong to the sage. Strolling through a peculiar garden, the male lead discovers crops capable of boosting stats like tomatoes for attack or radishes for intelligence, leading him to conclude that the owner of this place is a hopelessly eccentric individual. Initially, the male lead was pleased to find normal-looking vegetables, thinking they would help with food costs. However, he then questioned whether a snail-like creature crawling on the ground was edible. The male lead is utterly astonished and terrified as he witnesses a colossal liquid monster grotesquely morphing right before his eyes. Using his appraisal skill, the male lead is shocked and alarmed to discover the terrifying stats of the Hell Slime monster, with a level of 200 and extremely high defense. Facing an eye-covered Hell Slime, the male lead is incredibly surprised and annoyed, wondering what is wrong with this forest for dangerous monsters to constantly appear. Attacked by a grotesque creature, the male lead is astonished and frightened, realizing that the creatures in this world are truly formidable. Standing in the field and facing a strange phenomenon in the sky, the male lead realizes he is no longer as afraid as when he encountered the carnivorous demon before. He grips his weapon tightly, ready for a potentially inevitable confrontation. The male lead is astonished to realize how unexpectedly light the absolute spear is. After strenuously performing a powerful attack on the shadow creatures, the male lead unexpectedly learns the spear mastery skill and levels up, helping him continue training with new understanding. The male lead observes the changes in his surroundings as the energy from leveling up erupts from his body, causing destruction and warping the landscape. After leveling up and learning the prudence skill, the male lead decides to go to the library to borrow martial arts books to learn more about weapon usage, which seems to surprise the librarian. He was imagining how captivating he would be when he met girls. After shopping, the male lead walks on the crowded sidewalk, amidst the flow of people and active traffic lights. The male lead begins to feel like he is being watched, and at the same time, a group of girls behind him are whispering and peeking at him with expressions of surprise. While the male lead is walking down the street, anxiously wondering if he did anything wrong, another girl is also recalling the strange look she received at the library and hoping she has gotten far enough away from that situation. In a flashback, the male lead holds a claw-shaped piece of jewelry and wonders if it would be unsuitable for someone as unattractive as himself to use such an item. After receiving the items dropped after the battle, the male lead expresses curiosity about one of them, while other items such as magic stones, cores, and hell slime jelly are displayed with detailed descriptions. The protagonist successfully put on the dark moon necklace and was extremely surprised and delighted that it fit perfectly and he could now use this rare item. Yuuya was joking about the drop rate of rare items, while the other person was seriously contemplating it. Yuuya decided to try upgrading his luck stat, hoping good things would happen, and the LUK stat display soared from 4500 to 6500. While crossing the street, Yuuya pondered his continuous streak of good fortune and wondered about the true meaning of that luck. Walking on the street, the protagonist mused, wondering if the increase in his luck stat was the cause of the strange things happening. Although he reassured himself that this was the real world and special skills couldn't be involved, a sudden warning signal appeared, indicating an important or dangerous event was about to befall the protagonist. As the traffic light flickered, anxiety was evident on the face of a little girl crossing the street and also the protagonist, as he realized something perilous was approaching. A chaotic scene unfolded on the street as two men on a motorcycle sped aggressively, seemingly having collided with someone else and yelled an insult. The protagonist appeared shocked and frightened as he rescued the little girl on the street from the peril posed by the motorcyclist. After pulling a girl out of harm's way, the protagonist anxiously inquired about her condition and apologized for his sudden action, while also complaining about the reckless driver. Meanwhile, the girl remained silent and seemed bewildered. The protagonist smiled, expressing relief upon seeing that the other person was unharmed. At the same time, a dialogue box appeared, explaining the translation ability that allowed understanding all languages. A child appeared extremely surprised when an adult man bent down and spoke to them. A girl smiled happily, thanking her big brother, while a group of adults around watched, surprised and wondering about the language a man was speaking so fluently. On the same street, Yuuya was waving goodbye to a small child, after which he proceeded to head home. The protagonist pondered and realized that he could indeed use his skills in the current situation, his expression showing surprise and a hint of self-satisfaction. Yuuya recalled an incident, expressing relief that the police hadn't been called after a man had unexpectedly grabbed a little girl's hand, and also remarking that the girl was a good child. After buying some books, the protagonist was surprised by their strange content, especially regarding spear techniques and scythe assassinations, while noting that swordsmanship was a more common topic. The protagonist explained that the reason he started reading books on martial arts was because he had developed an interest in it, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. During spring break, the protagonist realized that fighting in the other world was unavoidable and emphasized the importance of learning how to fight properly. At the same time, he had learned new skills and upgraded his martial arts. Upon touching a peculiar object, the protagonist appeared astonished and uneasy, and he fled in a panic. After preparing a sumptuous meal, a system notification appeared, confirming that the character had learned the cooking skill. After reverently saying "itadikamasu," the protagonist began to enjoy the meal with relish, surrounded by special vegetables, and ultimately expressed utmost satisfaction with its flavor. Sitting on the floor and looking out the window, the protagonist monologued internally that he had intended to inspect the house, but then corrected himself that it was only a plan, while his stats were continuously reported to have increased. A week later, Yuuya carefully rechecked his important items, including a set of armor, a healing herb, and a powerful spear, indicating he was preparing for an upcoming event. Important information about Lexia von Alceria's background was revealed. She was not the legitimate heir to the current king and was not human, with her mother having once been a slave and concubine. As the daughter of a concubine and belonging to a different race, the young princess's position was very precarious, and she was seen grieving before a large tomb with a mysterious man. One day, while two children were playfully chasing each other in front of a castle, a maid and a gardener became extremely panicked and cried for help. The two girls were suddenly charged by a ferocious stray dog, and one of them exclaimed in surprise and fear upon seeing it. A massive surge of magical energy suddenly erupted from the garden, leaving the girl who witnessed the event utterly astonished and alarmed. After a catastrophic event, the eldest prince suffered heavy losses while another prince fully recovered, and the princess, who inherited abilities from her mother, ultimately became completely alienated from the royal faction. Began with a scene where a carriage driver praised Lexia-sama for a successful official inspection that had satisfied their partners. The attendant expressed relief that no trouble had occurred and advised Princess Lexia to relax more, emphasizing that even the king was worried about her, to which she responded with a cheerful expression. A young girl smiled gently, thinking about her father's concern for her, even though she felt she was no longer a child. After an unexpected event that left the young girl shocked and alarmed, a carriage driven by a mysterious man, along with an entourage of masked knights, entered an area where many cloaked figures were waiting, creating a tense atmosphere. An armored knight confronted and suspected the two mysterious cloaked figures were bandits ambushing the royal convoy, but they only responded with a sinister smile. A mage confidently declared they were using magic, astonishing the armored knight. The attack was very sudden, leaving the knight extremely panicked. Amidst the bandits' attack, Lexia was confused about what was happening. Although urged by her bodyguards to flee, she worried that separating from them would be even more dangerous. A hooded man urged everyone to hurry, saying he would lead the way to meet the others, while the accompanying girl looked worried. A week had passed since the previous investigation, and now, Yuuya was facing ferocious skeletal monsters in an intense battle. On the first day, the protagonist unexpectedly encountered elite Anubis and goblin monsters, leaving him extremely surprised and scared. Over the next 2 days, the protagonist discovered a dangerous plant species on day 2 and acquired a series of new skills like map and weakness detection on day 3. The protagonist's training continued as he practiced continuous shooting with his invisible bow on day 4 and accidentally discovered a delicious dish made from monster drops on day 5. Amidst a fierce battle, Yuuya was confronting numerous skeleton warriors. A close-up of Yuuya's eyes revealed extreme tension and exhaustion, and he exclaimed that the past week had been truly overwhelming. Standing in the dense forest, the protagonist pondered 2 important things he had discovered during his exploration, while also feeling embarrassed for talking to himself. The protagonist considered how safe his house was, but wondered why the previous owner, a sage, had chosen to live in a place teeming with such powerful monsters. Thanks to special titles, the protagonist's leveling became much easier, making him wonder if these benefits made him 10 times stronger than normal, and what exactly constituted normal in this world. The protagonist was content with his increased level and skills, which made his exploration work easier. He wished for his current life to continue, but then thoughtfully admitted that a problem existed. As the new semester was about to begin, Yuuya felt reluctant and didn't want to return to the stressful school life and old troubles. After being detected by some system, the protagonist confusedly considered skipping school, but then realized it would cause many difficulties and wasn't worth it. While stealthily observing a pack of red ogres, the protagonist worried about their numbers and blamed himself for acting on instinct without thinking it through. While a group of people frantically fled through the forest, another character observed from hiding, curiously wondering the reason for their escape. A sudden, detected signal appeared, indicating a newly identified threat, leaving Yuuya standing in a brightly lit scene with a vigilant and serious expression. After witnessing an unexpected event, the protagonist appeared utterly stunned and surprised, questioning what he had just seen. As a girl continued deeper into the forest, her companion repeatedly expressed concern that they had gone too far and suggested they should turn back. The cloaked figure reassured the girl that she needn't worry and that they would soon rejoin the others, and the girl seemed to accept these words. A young girl was utterly astonished when a cloaked figure gestured towards 2 distant, mysterious individuals and addressed them as comrades. A young witch appeared to be preparing to attack a group of hooded figures, but she quickly realized she had been deceived by the skeletal-faced antagonist. A girl was attempting to flee from her pursuers, who declared that she would not escape the great magic frontier, while the girl struggled with all her might to get away. In despair, the girl wondered about her fate as a cloaked assailant attacked her with sharp ice fragments, commanding her to accept her demise. An enigmatic figure in a black cloak is berating an injured girl, calling her defiled and urging her to stop delaying, while the girl can only respond with a pained groan. Despite her painful state, the young girl resolutely asserts that her blood is not impure, her eyes filled with determination. As the girl kneels in agony and despair, a masked figure mocks her, suggesting that the knights who fought for her have likely all perished. Amidst a menacing magical ritual, a voice from a skull declares it's time for the victim to perish, revealing utter horror in the target woman's eyes. In an emotional moment, the girl reminisces about her loving parents and rejects the notion of resentment, deeming it an absurdity. A horrifying sight unfolds as fragmented remains are scattered across a devastated scene, revealing Lexia's face contorted in utter horror, panic, and shock. A ferocious orc clad in armor bends down to examine something and exclaims a question in surprise. A group of soldiers panics as they are suddenly attacked by a goblin general. Many are sent flying and screaming in pain, while a girl is also trapped and crying out for help in fear. A young girl is cowering in fear beneath a tree, facing a colossal, mysterious, and terrifying creature made of shadow. Facing a ferocious orc monster, the young girl appears shocked and terrified as the monster delivers a powerful punch towards her. Facing death, the young girl desperately thinks that she doesn't want to perish without ever having been loved. A warrior in black armor unleashes a devastating attack, causing 2 girls witnessing the scene to show expressions of astonishment and dread. The girl stares at the male protagonist, simultaneously wondering about the young man's identity. Following a thought describing hair and eyes as dark as the night sky, a young man in armor rushes over to check on a severely injured girl lying unconscious. Clutching the unconscious girl in his arms, the male protagonist is overwhelmed with anguish and panic, pleading with her not to perish and repeatedly asking if she's all right. Yuuya holds the unconscious light-haired girl tightly in his embrace, both appearing injured after a battle, creating a sense of loss and apprehension. After sighing in relief that the girl was only unconscious, Yuuya sternly declares that they must now confront the real issue. The male protagonist stands facing a large horned monster, seemingly calmly assessing his opponent before the fight. Protecting the girl in his arms, the male protagonist displays extraordinary strength as he faces multiple monsters, swiftly delivering a powerful punch, knocking back an enemy. The male protagonist launches an attack at extreme speed, causing a girl to exclaim in astonishment at his abilities. Using the skill Judgment, the protagonist attacks a powerful goblin general, astonishing it with the blow, while the monster's formidable power stats are also revealed. The protagonist tensely observes a fierce assault, where a victim is being cornered and severely injured by a powerful assailant, causing him to exclaim that the situation is terrible. After delivering a powerful attack on the monster, the protagonist realizes he cannot charge directly at the opponent, while the monster is also preparing to counterattack. In a tense battle, a large goblin parries a powerful aerial attack with its sword, while another goblin shows pain or anger. Using the skill Invisible Bow, the protagonist focuses intently, telling himself to seek an opportunity to strike from a battle-ready stance. Amidst a fierce skirmish, the protagonist powerfully counterattacks the monster with a magic attack called Absolute Spear. The protagonist launches an extremely fast and effective attack on the opponent, leaving the opponent no time to react, then confidently comments on the enemy's slowness. Yuuya executes a powerful sword skill called Full Sword, demonstrating his resolve and strength in battle. After a fierce battle, the protagonist stands amidst the devastation, beside a defeated monster, his face showing solemnity and determination. The protagonist reflects on the change in his mindset after leveling up. He observes a severely injured person without fear or revulsion, only pity, recognizing that this was something he had anticipated. The protagonist is pondering what to do with a blonde girl lying unconscious or injured against a tree trunk. Noticing the girl is less injured than the others who couldn't be saved, the protagonist is considering whether to wake her. The protagonist realizes that the unconscious blonde girl before him is the first human from this world he has ever encountered. The protagonist appears extremely flustered and surprised, with blushing cheeks, indicating he is in an awkward or embarrassed situation. Yuuya is flustered, unsure what to do with the unconscious girl, worried she might be in danger, and also afraid of being mistaken for an abductor. Just then, a guard appears, calling out Lexia-sama, seemingly searching for her. Facing accusations from an angry crowd after an assailant is found deceased, the protagonist panics, being mistaken for the one who harmed Lexia-sama. The protagonist attempts to use the skill Absorption to blend into nature, but quickly realizes it's a bad idea, while two armored soldiers seem to have detected something amidst the devastated landscape. The soldiers find Princess Lexia injured and unconscious. They express concern about her condition and warn that the bandits might still be nearby. Observing the desolate ruins, a man shows confusion and worry, questioning the cause of this mysterious event. While the young man is hiding and notices the others are very vigilant, a girl seems to be concentrating on sensing or detecting something, with her eyes closed and shimmering energy surrounding her. Hidden behind a tree, the protagonist was utterly astonished to witness someone miraculously healing wounds and wondered if it was magic. After treating a woman's wounds, the bearded man decided that staying in this place was too perilous and they needed to retreat quickly. With a tense expression, an armored knight stood in a dense forest, gazing deep within, creating an atmosphere of suspense and mystery. As he prepared to enter the great magic frontier, a place teeming with monsters, the armored knight mused that if anyone else were in this area, it could only be a sage or a demon lord. The protagonist was in a state of extreme panic, then breathed a sigh of relief, thinking he had luckily escaped pursuit or detection. In April, the time for high school entrance exams, Yuuya was sitting in his room, rummaging through the contents of his school bag. As spring break ended, Yuuya looked tired and dejected, sighing as he looked at the documents for the upcoming opening ceremony. The protagonist worried that he would continue to be harassed in high school because the class hadn't changed, while the two bullies were screaming and rolling around on the floor. Yuuya slapped himself to regain his composure, then showed determination and said, "All right," before walking away. The appearance of the new Yuuya, handsome and tall, attracted special attention from the female students, causing them to buzz with chatter and wonder if he was a model. Faced with the girl's extreme excitement, the protagonist could only respond with a confused expression, not understanding what was happening. The protagonist mused that even when he did nothing, he still unintentionally affected others, while another female student was utterly bewildered and astonished when her gaze met his. Entering the classroom, the protagonist bowed his head and told himself to remain silent so as not to attract any attention from his classmates. Amidst the noisy classroom atmosphere, the protagonist tried to focus on reading his book and seemed to ignore a classmate calling his name. Questioned by someone else, the protagonist, seemingly in trouble, reluctantly handed something over to him. A new student was questioned and harassed by other classmates. After an internal struggle, one student loudly demanded his identity, while the new student was confused about himself. With a slightly worried expression, Yuuya, who had black hair streaked with white, introduced himself as Yuuya Tenjo. With an expression of surprise and anger, a man with spiky hair exclaimed, "Huh?" A group of students appeared utterly astonished and shocked by an event, with Yuuya's expression drawing most of the attention. The protagonist awkwardly tried to explain his astonishing change in appearance, saying he had fought monsters and leveled up too quickly during the break, but his classmates didn't believe him and thought he had undergone cosmetic surgery. After comparing heights, Yuuya made a threatening remark to his taller classmate, just as the teacher announced the start of homeroom class. In a school bullying incident, a boy attacked another classmate, while the others observed with uncomfortable expressions. Immediately after a collision, the male lead expressed relief at being unaffected, then appeared extremely surprised by the situation. The male lead faced someone through a partition, and one of them exclaimed in surprise, asking about the other's identity. The male lead interacted with the reflection of his former self before being called by the teacher, while he wondered internally, "Is that me?" On Sunday, the male lead strolled through a shopping mall, having just finished buying essential items that were on his list and had run out. The male lead expressed surprise at the significant change in his face since the mirror at home broke, while in the background, a few girls appeared flustered and astonished. Standing before the mirror, the male lead realized he no longer had to hang his head or make others uncomfortable, and could now confidently step out, asserting that this change was not just imagination. Two girls enthusiastically invited the male lead out and promised to treat him to matcha, while the male lead looked on with a bewildered expression. Approached and flirted with by two unfamiliar girls on the street, the male lead was initially confused but then realized he was being surrounded and considered himself fortunate. In a state of extreme tension, the male lead tried to calm himself and mentally prepared to decline someone as gracefully as possible. The male lead politely declined an offer, causing the two female students nearby to be extremely disappointed and distressed, while the scene around him became romantic with roses fluttering. After the male lead sighed in relief for having conveyed his feelings, two girls standing nearby chatted about his SSR appearance and admired his actions. In the crowded hallway, two girls eagerly discussed Myo-chan taking photos, while the male lead had an internal thought that in the past, he would have been humiliated. The male lead stood before a store's clothing display window, thoughtfully pondering the outfits. Standing hesitantly before a clothing store, the male lead wondered if he was allowed to enter or if he could find clothes that suited him. In the second-floor hallway, a large crowd was gathering and pushing, forcing the manager to try and control the situation, while another man bowed deeply in sincere apology. On the film set, a cameraman was angry about waiting too long, while the model Myo sadly asked him not to worry. At the same time, two other crew members were arguing, making Myo angry at the troublemaker's unacceptable behavior. A young girl was praised for her popularity and serious work ethic, while an older man expressed annoyance with someone else and hoped that person would follow her example. Strolling through a crowded area, the male lead thought about shopping, then he saw another crowd and curiously wondered about their behavior. The appearance of a strikingly beautiful girl drew everyone's attention, causing Yuuya to react strongly, while others chatted about her partner not having arrived yet. A manager announced that Myo-chan would be photographed first and expressed concern about the lack of a partner for the couple's theme, while another young man decided to move for a clearer view. A manager and staff member were discussing finding a replacement. The manager worried about the high demands before a crucial idea about the ideal candidate suddenly struck him. Moving through the crowd, the male lead was suddenly yelled at by an angry older man who pointed in his direction, leaving him utterly bewildered and unsure of what was happening. During a photo shoot, a girl continuously instructed her male co-star on poses and expressions, asking for more intimacy and allure, which made the young man appear confused and embarrassed. While Yuuya felt confused and tried to stay calm, a girl reassured him, saying that everyone gets nervous when they first start and he would be fine. Myo handed the male lead a bottle of water as thanks, while another woman in the background praised her beauty, causing Myo to turn and confirm her name. The male lead struggled during a photo shoot, especially when asked to cross his arms, while the girl beside him watched with amusement. Afterwards, he reflected on her kindness. A girl smiled and friendly pulled a young man closer to instruct the male lead on how to pose for the photos. An unexpected touch caused a strong internal reaction in the male lead, leaving him confused by his own senses, while the girl beside him remained innocently unaware. A girl was smiling gently, creating a quiet and meaningful moment between the two of them. In an intimate pose, the male lead told himself to stay calm and professional, while the girl beside him was also trying to focus on her work. As a director announced a break, the male lead sat alone, exhausted and despairing, creating a stark contrast. An editor remarked that the male lead's work needed more couple feeling, which flustered him, and he confessed that he had never been in a relationship. A young girl approached and asked a boy sitting on the bench if she could sit next to him, and he agreed. A girl expressed her thanks and apologies to the male lead for his help during the photo shoot, saying that everyone was very happy thanks to him, while he listened with a surprised expression. After witnessing an event, the male lead expressed his admiration for someone named Milu-san and admitted his lack of understanding about modeling work, while the girl beside him shared that she had realized just how challenging the job was. The girl shared that she was used to failures and that it used to make her sad. Immediately after, the boy praised her ability to pay attention to the needs of others. The male lead felt exhausted and at his limit, and made a remark about Myo-san's distinctiveness and work capabilities. A young girl blushed slightly upon receiving the male lead's compliment that she had a very gentle soul. The male lead introduces himself as Yuuya and explains its meaning, surprising and confusing the girl next to him, who then apologizes for not knowing his name yet. Looking at a piece of paper with handwriting, the girl reflects on her father's favorite saying about kindness and expresses her desire to become a gentle, respectable person. As they sit on a bench admiring the city view, the girl expresses uncertainty about her own gentle nature. The girl smiles reassuringly at Yuuya, advising him to go at his own pace and be confident. Yuuya appears surprised and moved, as it's been a long time since someone called him by his name. Recalling their time working together, the girl expresses that she had a lot of fun and hopes the other person feels the same way, not just about work but about everything else. After pondering something fun, the male lead recalls his past filled with despair and bitterness, but then asserts that everything changed since he found that door, bringing a new beginning. While a middle-aged man looks surprised in the hallway, Yuuya sits with a girl, wondering if he's truly allowed to have fun. The female lead smiles confidently and declares, "Of course you are," while the male lead looks at her with a slightly surprised expression. Amidst the happy moment of the two Yuuyas, a photographer secretly captures their picture with extreme excitement, believing it's the perfect opportunity. In a large space, everyone is actively cleaning and organizing belongings, while also expressing gratitude to each other for their assistance. The male lead is modest about his help, while another man reassures him that everything is fine and he did a great job. A female professional is surprised and wants to pay for the clothes, while the male lead hands her a bag, seemingly accepting her offer. A man explains that due to strict regulations, he cannot give the young man cash, but has instead prepared a gift and urges him to accept it as a reward. The shop owner happily gives Yuuya the bag of items, believing that him wearing the clothes will help promote the store, while Myo thanks Yuuya for his help that day. The male lead expresses deep gratitude, stating that the experience of collaborating with a professional has changed his life and brought many valuable insights. A girl expresses her joy and desire for future collaboration, while in another scene, she also says she had a fun time. While someone rushes away, lamenting being late, the male lead is expressing strong support for a girl named Myo. A self-satisfied blonde young man arrives late and calls the male lead kid, angering someone else, while the male lead realizes this is the person he has to photograph with. A young man boasts about his party lifestyle, then enthusiastically greets Myo-chan and expresses his delight at photographing with her, while she appears shy and uncomfortable. A young man suggests taking photos and having drinks with a girl, making her feel uncomfortable, and this scene is interspersed with a powerful crash sound. A tense moment unfolds as a young man appears to be pushing another person, causing the girl standing nearby to worry, while an older man observes the scene with an angry expression. The protagonist tries to advise someone to stay away from Myo-san because they are causing trouble, while elsewhere, another young man becomes furious and yells at the person opposite him, demanding he leave. In a chaotic scene, a troublemaker is aggressively questioning a classmate. The girl looks worried, while Yuuya, seemingly attempting to intervene, appears confused. The young man frantically apologizes for his arrogant actions, after which a girl confidently declares that she understands everything because she is a model. A young man is aggressively attacking someone with an angry expression, while a young girl stands nearby, witnessing the scene with a horrified look and calling out his name. Using a special ability called omniscience, the protagonist delivers a powerful punch to his opponent, leaving him utterly surprised and shocked. The protagonist has discovered the enemy's weaknesses and is attacking rapidly, with on-screen effects and notifications indicating a special combat system is active. The protagonist quickly incapacitated his opponent with a professional and powerful martial arts move, leaving the opponent in pain and unable to resist. After the protagonist incapacitated an attacker, the crowd expressed surprise and admiration. He frantically realized his body had reacted automatically, while the restrained individual struggled, demanding to be released. In a state of chaos and anger, the man worried about being seen as the aggressor and desperately called for the police, believing this to be an act of violence. Someone is watching a violent scene on a tablet with an indifferent attitude, while on the screen, another character is attacking and threatening the victim, saying, "You're such a nuisance, just vanish." A man smiles sinisterly, announcing that someone's aggressive behavior and frightening actions towards Myo-chan have been recorded, implying that person's career is over. An angry voice rings out, harshly condemning a celebrity for a crime, emphasizing that their status does not alter the nature of the conduct. When asked about her condition by a young man, Myo replies awkwardly and seems to be trying to hide her embarrassment. The young man worried when he saw the girl's face was flushed and offered to call for help, but she reacted strongly, insisting she was fine. In an emotional farewell moment, the young man thanked the girl, while she expressed her earnest wish to see him again. The protagonist smiles and promises to meet again, while Yuuya is thanked and bid farewell by a group of people in a friendly manner. Walking on the street, the protagonist recalled the day's words, from wanting to meet again to advice about watching TV shows and magazines, and he told himself he would definitely follow through. A girl is contemplating and calling out Yuuya, while the narration reveals that he wasn't the only one to experience something special that day, and Yuuya is seen sitting on the subway. After taking a photo with Myo-chan, Yuuya's popularity began to rise, with many people talking about him. The final narration reveals that this would lead to Yuuya's true identity being exposed soon.